Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Today's video is regarding the defense team in the Delphi case. The Delphi case is the case of Abby and Libby, whose lives were taken by Richard Allen on February 13th, 2017 at around between 2:30 and 3:30. Now the defense team keeps putting out stories on two different elements regarding Libby's phone, and they're just hoping that people out there won't look up the information to find out what the answer is, because the answer that they try to give people is 1,000 times less likely. So the two elements that the defense team keep talking about are, one, the fact that on the bridge there appears to be two images that we've seen that were taken by Libby's phone and put out on Snapchat. One was the full length of the bridge. That image did show up in the cache of Snapchat. The second image that we've seen is the one that was taken of Abby on, near platform 3 by Libby, and that image made it out to the internet, but the image is not on the phone. They haven't been able to find the original image. And the defense comes up with nefarious reasons, like somebody else had access to Libby's Snapchat account and took that picture and then they uploaded it. But there's much more logical explanations than that. The second issue that the defense team keeps talking about is the cell phone jack, the audio jack for headphones. Now, they say that, according to Jennifer Auger, that at 5:34, somebody had to have plugged in a headphone jack. And then at 10:32, they had to have removed it. So what she's really saying is that at the height of all the searching, where people were walking around, calling the name of Abby and Libby, and they were looking around, that there was somebody just lying on the ground there, listening to audio on Libby's phone. Or is there a better explanation for this? Is there a better explanation for this? So make sure to watch the whole video so you can hear the actual answers to these questions. And I believe the defense team actually knows the answers to the questions. They just want to keep it out there in the public like there's something weird going on. So let's get started on this right now. And the first portion is going to be regarding the headphone jack.
And the other thing is, just as Andy said, the forensic data, if you believe the state's timeline, Libby's phone was under a shoe, under Abby's body, from, let's say, 3:50, which is generous, 3:50 p.m. on February 13th until 12:15 p.m. on February 14th. You can't see, when you look at the crime scene pictures, I went back last night, you can't see that phone that is under Abby's body.
What difference does it make that you can't see the phone underneath her body at that time? Are you implying that it wasn't there when the picture was taken and they're just pretending that the phone was underneath her body? I mean, what relevance does that have?
So, and we know that wired headphones were plugged into the audio at 5:44 p.m. on the 13th and unplugged at 10:32 p.m. on the 13th. And the only explanation for that is some kind of human activity with the phone.
But that isn't true, Jennifer. At the time of this recording here, this was after the trial when you were thoroughly debunked, and I'm sure you must have looked up what the prosecutors told you about the headphone jacks when they looked it up on Google. You must have done some research after that. So for you to sit here and say that there's no other explanation other than a human being plugged that in is just a lie to your supporters out there. You're just trying to perpetuate the same lie. You were so excited when you found that piece of information, and you hoped so badly it was going to be your Perry Mason moment, proving there was somebody else there. And it turns out You were just wrong.
So there's no way, and no one ever said, and even the police admitted, Rick, there's no evidence Rick came back. So who's plugging in the headphones and who's unplugging the headphones when Rick is at home?
So there was no evidence that Rick came back. So you're admitting that he was there before, he just never came back. So he was at the crime scene, but he just never came back to have plugged in a headphone jack. Well, that's an amazing admission that you just gave us. And what else did you just say there? Let's play that last part again.
Phones when Rick is at home.
All right, so you're saying that Rick is at home during this time. So he was at home, but he was there before that. He just wasn't there at 5:45 plugging in the phone, according to you. But what we're going to see now is the actual answer for the headphone jack situation. Okay, so let's ask ChatGPT what the answer is. Can water cause the headphone jack on an iPhone to activate and deactivate? Yes, water can cause the headphone jack on an iPhone to activate and deactivate due to its conductivity or its conductive properties. Here's how it happens. Electrical conductivity. Water, especially if it contains impurities like salts or minerals, can conduct electricity. When water enters the headphone jack, it can create unintended connections between the electrical contacts within the port. iPhones use a detection mechanism in the headphone jack to determine whether headphones are plugged in. Water can interfere with this detection by simulating the electrical resistance or connection changes that occur when a headphone plug is inserted or removed. Now let's get the specific source. Give me the specific source of this information. And it says, yes, water exposure can cause an iPhone headphone jack to malfunction, leading to issues such as the device becoming stuck in headphone mode. This occurs because water can interfere with the electrical connection within the headphone jack, causing the iPhone to mistakenly detect that headphones are plugged in or removed. Can the iPhone believe that a headphone was removed after the water is removed? Yes, once the water is completely removed and the headphone jack is dry and free of any residue or corrosion, the iPhone can typically return to normal function and correctly recognize whether headphones are plugged in or not. Can temporary water exposure make the phone believe a headphone is plugged in and then removed? And it says, yes, temporary water exposure can make an iPhone believe that a headphone is plugged in and then removed. This occurs because water can mimic the electrical changes that the phone detects when headphones are inserted or removed. Here's how it happens. Headphone jack detection. iPhones with headphone jacks rely on electrical signals to detect the presence of headphones. When headphones are inserted, a change in the electrical resistance or connection within the jack is detected by the phone. Water, especially if it contains impurities, can conduct electricity. When water enters the headphone jack, it can create short circuits or alter the resistance between the contacts, leading the phone to believe a headphone is being inserted or removed. These changes can occur as water moves or evaporates inside the jack. And the temporary effects, as water evaporates or is removed, the unintended electrical connection caused by the water are eliminated. The phone may register these changes as the headphone being removed, restoring normal functionality. So isn't that absolutely what's going on here? That explains it perfectly. Doesn't that make a hell of a lot more sense than somehow somebody, reaching under the body, not moving the phone at all, and plugging a phone, headphones into the jack in the middle of the night? Does that make more sense to everybody? It does to me.
The forensic data, the health data, the Apple Health data supports is that the phone was somewhere else and the bodies and the girls were somewhere else, maybe in an outbuilding, maybe in somebody's house, and the phone stopped connecting to the tower around 5:44 p.m. It reconnected at 4:33 a.m. somewhere else. Then the phone died because of all that activity, and then it died. And that's when the prosecution would talk a lot about, well, the phone didn't move from 2:33 p.m. On. Well, yeah, it didn't move. It perhaps was in a feral bag or a freezer or in somewhere where it didn't connect.
So the phone was in a feral bag? I think he means Faraday bag. Or a freezer? So let me get this straight. The girls were taken across the creek, and then, or I guess in your theory, they were put into a van or a vehicle below the bridge and driven somewhere, and then they put the phone in a freezer or a Faraday bag, and then brought him back to the crime scene at like 5:45 in the evening, the same day people are searching for them out there, and then plug a phone into the jack to listen to it. And then they turn it out, they pull the jack out of the phone at 10 o'clock at night because they were just laying on their back listening to 5 hours of music sitting there. And does that make sense to anybody? That makes absolutely no sense at all. This guy's just rambling right here, hoping that the person listening to him is just he's like wowing him with all this stuff, and it's garbage. What he's saying right here is absolute garbage. He knows it. Everybody knows it.
There's a lot of non-connectivity areas in Delphi, and there's a lot of places, and some of the third-party suspects lived in the area around there, and the phone could have come back on at 4:33 a.m., died, then was carried along with the girls to its ultimate resting place afterwards.
The picture of Abby on the bridge, and that was all over the I think I got it off the internet before I entered my appearance. Like, some of this stuff that I looked at, I found on the internet. So anyway, the picture of Abby on the bridge, every other picture that Libby posted from Snapchat was in the Snapchat cache or in her photos that we could tell, except that one picture of Abby on the bridge. And that the law enforcement learned about that picture from Kelsey German, who said she saw it. And so if you look at what was entered into evidence at the top left, it says 7 hours ago. And I think she said she saw it at 9:05, as and so they hearkened it back to 2:05. The photo had been taken at 2:05. Now, my understanding is, Snapchat doesn't say posted 7 hours and 25 seconds ago or 7 hours and 12 minutes ago. So I don't know how accurate 2:05 is, but where did it come from?
And this is where Bob Mata steps in and asks some pretty legitimate questions. But Jennifer Auger seemed to just quickly sidestep that with her own answer, saying, "Not that we've ever found." Did you ever look up how this could have happened, Jennifer? Isn't that what you should do, or did you not want to know the answer? And if you did find the answer, did you just not want to say it because it takes away one of your flimsy theories that you have?
It came from her Snapchat account, but not off her phone.
I mean, is there any way that it could have, that's the thing, like that? Did you ask Eldridge, all right, the thing that kids like about Snapchat is that shit disappears. Like, it's like messages disappear, photos that you send disappear. So, I was like, is there some way that it could have been taken on that phone by Libby, wherein it somehow disappeared without being traceable in any way, shape, or form? Does that exist as a possibility?
Not that I'm aware of.
But why aren't you aware, Jennifer? After the trial was over, wouldn't you have looked this stuff up? Much like the headphone jack situation? Wouldn't you have looked this up? There are many, many answers out there. There's actually 4 different reasons, or at least 3. And we'll look that up here in a minute, but I just find it astonishing. I mean, it looked like Bob was actually on the right track there, and he was asking the right questions, but you kind of squashed it with your final answer saying, not that you're aware of, like, oh, it's so tricky, such a dicey situation. We don't know, man. This is really weird stuff. It's so strange. It must have been somebody else there taking that photo. And then they uploaded it to that account. I mean, wow, it's weird. Everything you're doing, you try to insinuate that there's somebody else there, much like you're doing with the headphone jack, trying to pretend that there's somebody else out at the crime scene plugging in and unplugging a headphone jack when you know that just isn't true. So let's take a look at ChatGPT's answer for how a Snapchat image might not show up in the cache. Why may a Snapchat image not appear in the Snapchat cache? A Snapchat image might not appear in the Snapchat cache for several reasons. The image is not saved locally. If the image was not saved to the device or Snapchat memories, it may not have been cached. Auto deletion. Snapchat is designed to delete images and messages automatically after viewing or after a set period. Unless the image was saved or screenshotted, it might not persist. Well, there it was. It was screenshotted by a couple different people. The Snapchat app cache may have been cleared manually by the user or automatically by the app or operating system to free up storage. Storage management settings. Some devices or apps delete older cache files. That's probably not likely in this case. Corrupted cache. The cache could be corrupted, causing certain files to not appear. That's probably not very likely. App update or reinstallation. Updating or reinstalling Snapchat can reset the app cache, potentially deleting cached images. That's exactly what Keegan Kline did. Temporary network issues. If the image relies on being re-downloaded from Snapchat the servers, and there is no internet connection or server issue, it may not appear in the cache. That one's sort of interesting. Device-specific issues. Some devices or configurations might handle Snapchat data differently, affecting the cache contents. Privacy and security settings. If the image is part of a private or encrypted conversation, Snapchat might not store it in the cache for security reasons. Now here's one that I downloaded the other day using Google's AI. It said a Snapchat image might not appear in the cache because it was never saved there in the first place, either due to the image being deleted before it could be cached, the user having a setting to limit caching, or because the image was originally viewed as a live snap that is designed to disappear immediately after being viewed, meaning it doesn't get stored in cache at all. So isn't that just really, really, really likely what's going on here? The image was obviously taken by Libby on the bridge. Abby and Libby were there. They were walking together. Libby took a full shot of the bridge. Abby's behind her, so you can't see her. Then moments later, Libby takes a photograph of the northwest portion of the bridge with Abby in the photo. And then approximately 6 or 7 minutes after that, Libby's filming Bridge Guy, a.k.a. Richard Allen, coming at them at the other end of the bridge. All right, let's see what some of the sources are here. what is the specific source? The specific source of why a Snapchat image might not appear in the cache can be attributed to Snapchat official design and behavior as described in their support documentation and privacy policies. Snapchat's ephemeral nature, including automatic deletion of messages and images after viewing or expiration, plays a critical role in this behavior. Additional insights can be derived from Snapchat support and privacy policies. So there you go. This came straight from Snapchat itself. So given what you just heard, isn't it much, much more likely that the Snapchat image wasn't in the cache for one of these, I mean, in this case, 9 different reasons than for some weird, unexplainable thing that obviously means that there was somebody else there? Snapchat was designed to keep its communication private, deleting images, etc. That's what it's for. So, I mean, it's also kind of surprising that the prosecution, when asked that, he didn't have an answer as to why. He should have had a list just like this, as giving different options and explaining that that's just generally how Snapchat actually works. All right, well, I think this video shows you that it's not reasonable to believe either of the two theories that the defense team tried to throw out on the headphone jack situation and the Snapchat image that wasn't in the cache. Now, I didn't show it on the screen here, but the source behind the ChatGPT information on the headphone jacks came directly from Apple itself. All right. Also, in one of the searches I did, it said it was more common in older iPhones and even listed, they said, such as the iPhone 6S. And I believe that's the phone that Libby had. I know it was an iPhone 6. I'm not sure if the S was on there. Maybe you can put in the comments what exactly the brand, if it had the S at the end or not. All right, so what we have here is the defense is just grasping at straws. They've been doing this the whole time. That's why they threw out the Odinist theory. The information that they're trying to sell you, the public, on the cell phone data is absolutely bogus, and I'm not sure why, after so many days after the trial, when these people were doing their, Auger and Baldwin were doing their interviews, why they didn't have answers and say, I think there might be a better explanation than what we have. They're not doing that because they're going to keep trying to sell it. Now, they're not really the attorneys right now, but I think they want another bite at the apple, so to speak, if Richard Allen somehow gets a second trial. But I don't think, this information right here, they hopefully wouldn't use at a second trial because it's completely bogus. And the prosecution will definitely have the answers ready for them at that time. Because I remember during this trial when the prosecution was asked why the image wasn't on Libby's phone, the image of Abby, he said, I don't know. You can't really have answers like that. You have to have multiple different answers and possibilities, and that are much more likely than somebody just having access to Libby's Snapchat account and taking a picture of Abby walking there and uploading it? Or is it just way more likely that there were two kids on the bridge? You can see Abby. She doesn't look like she's under any duress at all. She's just whimsically walking across the bridge, and Libby took a photo of her and sent it out on Snapchat. I think the most likely one is that one where when somebody sees the image, it then disappears. There's multiple other ones that sounded very plausible as well. The least plausible by a magnitude of a million is that somebody else had access to Libby's Snapchat account and took that picture. All right, and I think we have explained away completely the headphone jack situation. It doesn't make any sense what the defense is trying to sell to the public. They're using the public and hoping that people will be, unwilling to look things up and, stay willfully ignorant. They love those type of people. They like people that they can just sell garbage to, and they'll go out and spew it about and believe it because, my God, we're all Rick Allen. I'm not. And I hope none of you feel like you're Rick Allen as well. All right. Thank you all very much for watching, everybody. If you could hit that like button, I would appreciate it. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. And, as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.